Hi, everybody. Dennis Prager here, and I gave a talk to the Republican members of Congress. They meet once a year. I had the honor of addressing them this past weekend in Baltimore, and here it is.
It's an honor to be here, everybody, and thank you, David Dreyer, and everyone who has made it possible. He is a model congressman, by the way. I want you to know I am in his congressional district. He calls me regularly to ask me if things are going well. I think that you're a model of what one can do for one's constituents. I was kidding. You can't call every constituent that often. It just happens to be that we're friends and I happen to be in his constituency. But he is wonderful, and I'm delighted to be here. It's more than delighted, though. I want to talk to you from my heart and my brain. First, let me just say one thing about your selling these ideas. It is harder, this is the way life is, it is harder to sell truths than to sell falsehoods. If you look at the great orators of the 20th century, you will find that the list of charismatic orators in the world has a much longer list of bad people than good people. It is easier to be a Hitler or a Mussolini or a Nasser or a Mao than it is to be a Churchill, and a Churchill needed a war to be a Churchill. It's harder. We have a harder task. It is easy to say, we are good, we will give you, we will give you, we will give you, we will give you. It's much easier. It takes no effort. It sounds right. It is harder to show that the moral and the good is on the side, in this case, of saying no, we won't give you. That is a more moral and good and American position. So you are in a harder place to begin with. I fully know that. So what I want to do with my few minutes is show you the large themes that are involved here. And I said this to a number of you privately, and I want to say this publicly, and I have nothing to gain because I'm asking you for nothing. I have never been more proud. I have never been as proud to be a Republican as I have been with your unanimity in fighting Obamacare and the other terrible bills that are here to transform America to the worse. Please know you've got to get this feedback. You need to know that this has been a luminous moment in Republican history, that you have been able to stand and do this. Let me tell you, there's a man who has written books on child rearing, and he said, folks, the most important vitamin you can give to a child is vitamin N, the word no. Better than vitamin C, better than vitamin B, better than vitamin D is vitamin N. You have given America vitamin N. It has needed it terribly because, and here is one of these large issues of life. I mentioned this to a couple of you last night. This is a sad way in which God has stacked the deck against the battle for goodness in human history. Every change for good must be renewed over and over, but changes for the worse are permanent. That's the way life is. Goodness must be done every day, over and over. A new generation has to be inculcated with American values over and over. But once the change for bad is made, it is very close to irreversible. And this would be a change for the worse in American life, this government takeover, and that is, when they're honest, they admit it. This is the way they get to single-payer and government takeover of another sixth of the American economy. You have to know how important your work is and how many of us know this. Now, let me tell you one other large themed idea. You are not fighting liberals. You are fighting the left. There was once liberals. I was a Democrat until about 15, 20 years ago. I'm 61 years old, so through middle age, I was a Democrat. How could I not be? I am a New York Jew who went to Columbia. I had no choice. I never met a Republican. I had met more people from Albania than I had met Republicans. My entire background was saturated with liberal New York Jewish Democrats, and that's redundant. And so, obviously, that's what I believe in. But you are not fighting liberals any longer. You are fighting the left, and you must, even if you don't say this, although you can, I say it on my show over and over again, idea is so important. I studied the left. I was at the Russian Institute at Columbia University, spent a fair amount of time in communist countries, and we're not fighting communists. That is not in any way what I imply. I never even imply that on the air. God forbid. They're not communists, and it would be self-destructive to even imply it. But they are leftists. And to understand that is to understand what you are fighting. For example, I'll give you a classic example of what happens. I want to tell you a great Soviet dissident joke. It was told about the Soviet Union by dissidents in the Soviet Union, and it went simply like this. In the Soviet Union, the future is known, it is the past which is always changing. This was a very powerful comment, and I'll tell you where I made it. This Jew battled to keep the cross in the Los Angeles County seal. Liberals and leftists and ACLUists in California battled to remove the smallest part of the county seal of Los Angeles. The smallest thing on the county seal was a cross. I got thousands of people to the Board of Supervisors when they had their vote, and it went, of course, according to ideological lines, 3-2, to remove the cross because of a threat from the ACLU. And I remember looking at them, and particularly at Zev Yaroslavsky, whom I know from many years ago because we both fought for Soviet Jewry. And I told them this joke. And I said, you are doing what the Soviets did. You're rewriting my county's history. It was founded by Christians. That's why there's a cross. Had it been founded by Wiccans, I would fight for the broom. But it wasn't founded by Wiccans. It was founded by Christians. That's why it's Los Angeles and not Los Secularistas. If it was Los Secularistas, I would expect an empty seal. But it is not empty. It was founded by Christians. Forget, it's not a religious issue. You're rewriting my history.
All right, we'll be back. We'll be back momentarily. This is the 14-minute talk that I gave. Then I took questions later. We all took questions, but I wanted you to hear, and we'll finish it. There's a couple of minutes left. I spoke to the Republican members of Congress. They meet once a year. This was in Baltimore this past weekend. From my heart and from my mind, these people are putting the holes in the dikes that are falling down. 1-8 Prager 776. You are listening to the Dennis Prager Show.